Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Joe Emilio Show. I'm your host, Joe Emilio, and I'm back to a normal scheduled show thing in the week. It's been a while, but I've been traveling cross country with this man. Sorry, this man, Ernst Van Zyl. We traveled. We might talk about that a bit, but we got some other things to talk about. Ernst, before I get carried away, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Joe. Thank you very much for inviting me back on the show. It's always nice to be here. And yeah, like I told you off air, there's always so much to talk about when it comes to South Africa, not just what's happening in the news, but also what's happening behind the scenes. It's one of the most interesting countries to live in.
Exactly. Yeah. Interesting is a good word. Scary at times as well, and definitely entertaining, to say the least. We already got some fans knocking in the live chats. We got this gonna be good from Ketso. Ketso, thank you for tuning in, my friend. And Sideliner Opinions should be good. And Anti-Marxist already popping in, as well as Vut Zarko has also joined us. Hi, all. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Thank you so much. And please share, let people know that we're having a discussion on what is happening now in South Africa. And I think a very good place to start, as we were discussing off air, is. I can't believe this shouldn't even be a topic, but the postponement. I think a lot of people are wondering about this postponement of elections. Right now, the Concord has to make a decision, and everybody's waiting. I was actually having a chat with Natasha Matsone earlier. She's
Hmm.
also she says the DA is just holding their seats, waiting to hear the results or what the Concord's going to say. Have you heard anything?
Well, no, I think we're all waiting to see what happens there. But Joe, it's a big story. It's one of the most important stories, I think, when it comes to South Africa. Maybe even not just a story, maybe just call it an issue.
Hmm.
Because what we're seeing here is pretty much the ANC trying to postpone an election that they are almost destined to do very horribly in. Now, there's many factors that are leading to this conclusion or this prediction, and maybe we can get into that.
Hmm.
But maybe just the bottom line that I think a lot of us know already is that the ANC is in no position now to have a strong municipal election, and they know it. I think their poll numbers are showing it, and they are going to try their best to try and postpone it. We're waiting with bated breath for the Constitutional Court's ruling. I'm not so sure. I can't tell you that they will come to the rescue, but we'll see. But it's a very dangerous precedent that's being set.
Yeah, it worries me how many people are actually concerned about, like, nobody can give a definite answer. I've spoken to a lot of people, like Mark Oppenheimer, David Ansara, Ramon Cabanek, who has some interesting theories which I want to get into. But
Mm.
even Ronaldo House, all these people, like I said, I've been speaking to a lot of people, and nobody can say, like, when I say no, 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 because like I'll ask the question, like, do you think the Concourt's going to deny the judgment or the postponement? And then I get this long winded answer of, yeah, they should, because, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, no, no. Do you think they will? And then it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And that worries me.
No, absolutely, Joe. You're right to be worried. And in a country like South Africa, unfortunately, we've reached that point where we don't know. We don't have that type of certainty. And I saw there in the chat, Sideliner Opinions makes a very good point. He says this decision will show us how captured the Concord or free the Concord is. And that's absolutely true. We're going to see. I mean, from a constitutional standpoint and from a just a democratic precedent standpoint, it's a no-brainer. The elections should go ahead. They should go ahead as planned. They should go ahead as it is mandated, and there is not really an excuse to postpone them, because you have to take into account they want to postpone it to next year around February, and that is around when we last had also a massive wave of COVID infections as well. So all that's going to happen is that we're going to postpone it to then, and then when that date arrives, they're going to say, "Oh man, well, it seems like we have another wave. We're just going to have to postpone it again." I mean, where does that end, Joe?
No, absolutely. I think, well, maybe it's not even COVID anymore. Maybe it's something else. There's a new riot or looting that happened. It's unsafe for people
Oh.
to go outside. I mean, there could be a number of things that the ANC will try and use to postpone the election
Mm.
and just keep on
Yeah,
postponing it.
absolutely. I think what we're going to see, and I made that point on the Podletik podcast, is that unfortunately, it's not just a South African issue, but electorates have a very short memory. So when it comes to, for example, postponing the election because of a crisis, Now people might understand that, oh yeah, we're just going to postpone it because of the COVID pandemic, that being the crisis. But in a few years' time, the ANC can just say, well, we postponed it because we were in a crisis situation, not referencing COVID even. That means they can then pretty much use that precedent of any crisis, then mandate a postponement of an election. And that's not just even a municipal election, that could then be used to postpone a national election as
Mhm.
well. And I mean, South Africa is not short of any type of crisis fodder. They could say, well, we're experiencing an energy crisis, therefore we need to postpone it. We're experiencing an unrest crisis, therefore we need to postpone it. Joe, the list goes on and on. There's so many excuses that they can use. So that's why people keep mentioning the dangerous precedent that it sets, because the precedent is that if there's any type of crisis, we can just postpone the election and everything will be fine. And like I said, in South Africa, they're going to have ample excuses if that's the path that they want to take.
Well, one thing that gives me solace, Ernst, if I'm honest, is let me take you back to when the we had lawyers fighting for the tobacco ban, right? They were trying to get
Mm-hmm.
that exonerated, or whatever the correct term is. And
Yeah.
it was a long fight in that court. You know, there were some good arguments, and the courts also took. I don't think it was in the Concord, but I mean, the courts themselves took a very long time to deliberate. I remember it was supposed to be a week, but it ended up being 2 weeks. They asked for like an extension, and then when the verdict came out, it was like, no, the tobacco ban is unconstitutional.
Right.
That kind of gives me hope that the reason why it's taking so long now is because the judges are trying to come up with a really good, ironclad, solid judgment. Because I mean, some of these judges do come with very good judgments, and I think that might be why it's taking so long for a judgment to happen, is because they're trying to write out something that is just you can't refute, and hopefully something beautiful to read.
Well, Joe, I envy your optimism. I'll be frank about that. But it's, I mean, you do make a good point. It's not just frivolous optimism. I do think there is something there. But at the same time, I think when you look at the ANC, maybe just to move it there, when you look at their incentives for election, they have all the incentives. So, firstly, they're coming off a disastrous Zondo commission. I mean, state capture is not, we're not even close to having any accountability for the corruption that we saw with state capture. So Ramaphosa, even the media couldn't really shine that performance that we saw there from the president. Absolute see no evil, hear no evil type of stuff. And I mean, a lot of even some of the media pundits even turned on him in that regard. But there's also a lot of other factors too. I mean, you get the ANC, I think in 30 wards, I'm talking under correction, they missed their deadline to register for the election. So in 30 wards, the ANC is not going to be able to contest if they don't get that deadline extended. And that's going to be disastrous for them. And then you also have the absolutely just horrible lockdown performance and all the havoc and destruction that has caused. I mean, when it comes to the lockdown and you talk about banning fried chicken or banning what type of
Open
clothes
toed
you can
shoes.
wear,
Open
or
toed
when
shoes.
you can go to the beach. I mean, that's stuff that regular people notice. And then also you get, and I know we're going to talk about that later because it's also an important issue, is the unemployment rate that we saw now. I
Yes,
think it was
absolutely.
last week that it came out. It was reported that by Stats SA, that South Africa's unemployment rate has now risen to 34.4%, which is a record high. Now, I mean, gold medal to the ANC for failure. I think they deserve that, and at least we're leading in something in the world. Maybe that's what they're aiming for, just to get some accolades and on the podium. It might be a Razzies award rather than an Oscar, but I mean, it doesn't matter to the ANC, it seems. But
No.
yeah, you like I said, you have all these issues compounding. That's not even talking about the national unrest and looting that we had, that
Yeah.
pretty much again humiliated the ANC and South Africa on the global stage. chasing away a lot of foreign investors and people that thought, oh, the new dawn is coming. I think that was also a sobering experience. So going into the elections, this is a recipe for disaster for the ANC. That doesn't mean that they're going to lose all the wards and suddenly the ANC is going to be completely hopeless and won't have any control. It just means that they stand at the moment to lose a significant amount of power, and they know it. I mean, the biggest mistake that you can make in South Africa is thinking that the ANC are stupid. I mean, they
Yes.
make a lot of blunders, but that doesn't mean that the top brass of the ANC don't monitor what's going on, that they don't strategize, that they are just a bunch of people that don't know what's going on. They are not brain dead. And this is something I think a big mistake that a lot of people make is specifically when they look at, for example, figures like Jacob Zuma and they say, "Ah, man, he's just this this guy that doesn't know what's going on and he's completely clueless." But then at the same time, they also say, "No, he also coordinated this massive
Yeah.
insurrection." So I think
Make up your
just to
minds.
finish, just to finish off that point, I think the biggest mistake you can make when it comes to the ANC is that they don't have a plan, and that they are not they don't have a detailed agenda. I do think they have one, as misguided and as disastrous as it may be. They're not just people that are they're not just a bunch of headless chickens. There might be some ministers that come close to the headless chicken standard, but don't underestimate them. They are still they're still shrewd politicians.
Absolutely. Politicians are trash, as my friend BDL likes to say. I think, yeah, so there's a few things I want to chew on with what you just said. So the first one being the part where you said, which is very important, the 30 wards scenario here, which I mean, if the Concord does not rule in postponement, the ANC are screwed beyond belief.
Yeah.
And we could see the end of the ANC within these elections, next coming election. It's amazing, but there are some people who are now theorizing that we could see EFF coalitions with other parties. One, Mr. Richard Wilkinson, who was also on my show a few weeks ago, very interesting man. He put out a tweet not too long ago with different scenarios of what could happen if the postponement was to happen or not happen. Sorry, because of the ANC missing out on registering. And he painted an interesting picture. He predicted that the DA might do a coalition with the EFF, which I replied to him and I said I doubt that, because the DA have many times on this show said that that was a big mistake when they did it way back when.
Yeah, they're still licking their wounds
Yeah. So
from that disastrous coalition.
yeah, so I doubt very much that will happen. But interesting enough, I brought up Action SA, who, at least on Twitter, seem to be making a lot of noise. They're very active on Twitter. They're showing their people on the ground. Herman Mashaba is doing great work, I think. And when I say great work, I just mean that he's actually showing that he's with the people and he's doing things and he's campaigning and he's meeting and he's doing all these stuff, which, so he's active. He's one of the few parties I see is very active. So I think he could be a wild card. But okay, before I ramble on,
Well, that's something I've also been saying. I think Action SA is one of the dark horses of this election. I think people would be ill-advised to underestimate them.
So let me know your theory. What do you think will happen if the Concords tomorrow say postponement not happening? What do you think the landscape will be?
Well, if the postponement doesn't happen, we're gonna be. It's pretty much going to be the ground is going to be plowed for a ANC disaster when it comes to the election. They're pretty much destined then to lose a lot of support and maybe even quite a few wards. I mean, that's not even talking about the wards where they cannot contest because they were late to the party. But yeah, that is a big question mark that a lot of people are. That's why this is such an important issue, Joe, is the fact that if the elections cannot or are not postponed, this is a very serious situation that the ANC will find themselves in. Like I said earlier, because of all these different happenings in the past 2 years, plus the fact that they don't have these wards, it's a very dire straits that they're going into. How big that impact is going to be and how much support they will lose, I mean, that's a very hard prediction to make. I mean, it is South African democracy and South African politics. After all, anything can happen. And the ANC does have a still, despite all of their flaws and all of their blunders, they still have a very loyal supporter base. I actually had a chat about it on my channel a few months back with Robert Daigen and Russell Lamberti about why do people vote for the ANC, and some very interesting insights came out of that conversation. But when it comes to these types of scenarios, the ANC are definitely aware of the dire straits that they are heading into, and that's why they're so desperately fighting to postpone these elections. I don't think people understand how big of a ruling this will be. So that's why people are so anxious to hear what the Concord decides. Because if they say we're going ahead with these elections, suddenly South African politics gets very interesting.
Do you think there's a chance that ANC might have some judges in their pocket or even threaten some of these judges?
Well, Joe, it's we do live in Africa, so that's always a possibility. But at the same time, it's not we're not able to prove it. If you look at, for example, a case study like Zimbabwe, that was absolutely the case. Robert Mugabe was a master of capturing the courts, packing them with his own loyalists, and threatening and pretty much dethroning anyone that goes against him. So, and if you look at the ANC's admiration for Mugabe and his regime, I wouldn't put it past them. But like I said, I can't really give you any confirmation. I don't have any insider information on that in that regard. But it's definitely a possibility. I mean, that's the norm across the continent. So why should South Africa be any different? I think it would be naive to think so. But that is the big threat. And I see a lot of people in the chat have already said that is definitely the big worry, is the fact that the court might be captured. But I mean, like one of the commenters said at the beginning of the stream, this judgment might give us a little bit of a peek into how captured the courts actually are.
Absolutely. Man, this week is going to be interesting, or whenever it is that the Concord decides to give us their
Well, they're
ruling.
running out of time.
Yep.
They don't have all the time in the world.
Now, what's is there a limit to like how long they can take to decide?
Well, they I don't think there's a limit. I'm not a legal expert, but at the same time, if the elections go ahead, that's in October, so
Well,
that's around the corner.
that's a good point because until that judgment is made, everything runs as normal, as if
Yeah,
it is happening. So we'll see what
yeah.
happens. Peter Swanga giving a question here, which I think we can chew on for a bit. Should people be concerned about factional violence if the ANC loses these wards? I think that's a very good point as well.
Hmm. Well, it depends on what factions you're talking about. Yeah, well, if you look at the scenario that plays out, if they lose a lot of these wards and they lose a lot of power, that's what happens when an animal is cornered. It starts getting desperate and it gets very aggressive. So, and I think that's something in South Africa that we haven't seen a lot of. We haven't really seen the ANC backed into a corner. I mean, they've had a lot of blunders, they've had a lot of monumental failures, but they've never really been in a situation where their power is genuinely threatened. I mean, really in a very dangerous sense. And then that makes the ANC very unpredictable. So we don't know what they'll do when their power is really threatened or when their power is seriously challenged. They've given us some hints in regards to what they'll do, but that's uncharted waters even for South Africa. In post 94 South Africa, under the ANC's rule, we really don't know what they'll do if they start losing some serious power. I mean, this is something I've been warning against for a warning of for a long time. Is that yes, I don't want the ANC in power and all the power to Futsek ANC. No qualms or doubts about that. But at the same time, people need to be conscious of the fact that the ANC will become. It's very unpredictable how the ANC will react and how they will conduct themselves if they are put into that position where their power is seriously threatened. That's why the same type of advice I give to the Cape Independence guys as well. Now, without going into that topic, I always tell them too they're going to need some balls, brass balls, if they want to try and take a third of the South African economy from the ANC. we don't know how the ANC will operate or how they'll play ball in that situation. So it's very dangerous. And what makes it so dangerous is not what actually will happen, but rather the fact that we can't really predict it. We can't really be ready for it because we haven't been in that type of situation. It's inevitable, as any analyst will tell you, worth their salt, that the ANC cannot stay in power forever. There will come a time when they start being threatened, and what they do then, that's going to be interesting. And I mean, this is something that I found out through my master's degree that I did. I studied Zimbabwe, Botswana, Uruguay, and Venezuela, their journeys to success and failure. And one of the things that I saw happen in both Venezuela and Zimbabwe, both countries that the ANC quite admire, was that as soon as the ruling party started losing serious support, then they started going more down a more radical policy path. Mugabe's ZANU-PF started really pushing EWC when they started being threatened in the polls and when they started losing electoral support. So as long as the ANC is comfortable, they might be a little kitten, but when they start being threatened, they might go down, they might stop, put their game face on, and they might start doing some serious and radical stuff. So, like I said, I can't really tell you what exactly is on the horizon, but if that is how it plays out, it's not pretty.
Yeah, jeez. It's some really mafia stuff, man. It's kind of scary how some of these politicians operate, and I mean, case in point, this might be a good segue into our next topic, which is unemployment. You know, these politicians at the moment that control South Africa and rule with already an iron fist. So I can't imagine them being even more strict. We've been talking. Cyril has been, I don't know, since the beginning of COVID, has been saying like, oh, we're gonna have a new recovery plan. I've got a master plan for a recovery plan, right? We haven't seen it. We don't know it. And now he's got another recovery plan.
His sources do trust me.
Yeah, so I mean, this recovery plan he's been talking about for, I don't know, 18 months. And just in this week, or last week, sorry, like you mentioned earlier, unemployment rate #1 globally, which is scary.
And a historical high for South Africa as well.
You say that like it's something to be proud of. Like we won a gold medal.
Yeah, gold medal for failure, dude.
No, it's
Viva ANC #1.
Jokes aside, though, it really angers me when I see. I saw a headline today: Cyril ready to address Parliament with his economic recovery plan, and I'm like,
I've seen this movie before.
Exactly. It's a rerun. It's a rerun of this stupid, lame, crap movie. I don't want your recovery plan, dude. The only thing I want to hear come out of Cyril's mouth is that BE is done. He's not going to pursue EWC. NHI is a thing of the past, which is obviously not going to happen. But that's the only way you can fix South Africa, and along with other things like the base. The basic economic. Sorry, I'm messing this up. The basic income grant, I think it's called, or that they're also trying to push out there, which the ANC doesn't have money to pay its own staff members at ground level, yet somehow wants to come up with money to do the basic income grant.
Did you see their crowdfunding now to solve that problem? The ANC is asking for donations to compensate for their empty coffers.
Yet, politicians who get suspended with pay, don't have some extra bucks to donate to that fund. I bet you. I bet you none of these politicians have sacrificed 1 cent to that donation. And Cyril Ramaphosa, who is basically a billionaire, could easily. I mean, it's a perfect opportunity for a PR stunt. President Ramaphosa. I'm probably giving them ideas now. But President Ramaphosa gives 2 billion rand to the help, to the needy, or not the needy, but like to the staff members who don't have
Yeah, yeah.
salaries. You know, I mean, imagine.
Well, he sees them as the needy, or he sees ANC ministers as needy. I think it was this year that he said the salaries that ANC ministers earn is they can't they struggle to make ends meet. That
Yes.
was his words.
Oh my
Like,
word.
yeah, they're earning like 2 million rand a year.
This guy doesn't live in South Africa. I'm sorry, he doesn't live. He lives in his own little
Yeah,
bubble
well,
world.
he is the disconnected president. I don't think Cyril really has anything in common with the average South African.
No,
He's really just this urbanite.
absolutely.
And the thing about when it comes to the ANC, and I'm just thinking about them begging people for money, is that it's not like they were in the position in 1994 that Botswana, for example, was in 1966. So in 1966, when Botswana gained independence, they had 12 kilometers of tarred roads in the entire country. And now
That's
today, I just
incredible.
read today, and I tweeted, I actually made an entire thread on Botswana because they're such an inspirational country, and they're just next door. Is that they now announced that they are expecting 9.7% economic growth in 2021. I mean, imagine that.
That is shocking to say the least.
And it's because they have good institutions. It's because they have the highest property rights rating in the entire continent.
And yet here we are backtracking. It's yeah, it's
What's
shocking.
what's that old vintage Trevor Noah line of like the world says, okay, we're going this way, and then the South African government's like, yeah, we're going this way.
Yeah. No, I think like sorry, going back to unemployment. What
Mm,
worries me is again, it seems like ANC has fixed itself in a way where it can try and come in as the hero. So you have a large unemployment population, but now you want to try and implement this basic income grant to almost buy those votes again. That's one of my
mm.
theories as to what they're trying to do. However, they don't have any money, so that's another mind boggle on its own. But before we chew on that, unemployment could also lead to more riots and looting, which is what people I think don't understand. Because the more you have angry people, the more, or unemployed people, the angrier they are with the government, with the situation. They can't afford food. They need to make ends meet. They need to provide for the family. What do? Crime goes up, and then eventually there's a spark, like we saw a month or two ago, and we have mass looting and rioting. Ernst, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, well, as I've told, well, a lot of people are trying to still to this day trying to put their finger on what happened there with the unrest in South Africa. For me, it's very simple. It wasn't well. Let me just put this out of the way. I'm not one of those like the conspiracy theorists in the media that think it's like this. Jacob Zuma is the major puppet master, and it was this orchestrated coup and insurrection, whatever big words you
No.
want to use, that you just plagiarize from your American counterparts. The Americans love the word insurrection currently, and that's why the South African media also wanted their turn to use it. But
They
no, for
wanted a
me, it's very
Capitol Hill.
simple.
That's what they wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, they also want to say, well, we also survived an insurrection. Yeah, we also got our credentials now. But anyway, it's very simple for me. If you look at the mismanagement, astronomical levels of corruption that we've seen with the ANC, it's no surprise that you get these types of unrest that we saw. I mean, the more lucid analysts and pundits in South Africa have been warning that South Africa is a ticking time bomb. And what all it was is that, yes, I think Jacob Zuma and his faction played a role, but their role was you have an Olympic swimming pool filled with petrol. Their role was they just flicked a match into that swimming pool. That's all they did. Um, and that's what we saw happen in South Africa. And it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it was so predictable. It's something that a lot of people have been warning is on the way. It's something that's going to happen. And it's, I think, definitely not the last time we've seen that type of unrest. But luckily, we also saw the silver lining there of communities coming together and defending what is theirs, defending their families and their neighborhoods very, very bravely. They were the absolute shining stars of that whole disaster and in all the chaos. And heroes aren't born, they're made. And a lot of heroes were made during that week. And just something that I remembered now, before we move on from Botswana, or before that's a bit of an old topic. I remember they made a tweet in 2019. I actually put it in that thread on my Twitter that I made on Botswana today, where they said, in caps, firstly, the Botswana government tweets out, want to live in a well-run country. Botswana is known for having strong personal freedoms, such as freedom of the press and personal property rights. So they're just dunking on South Africa constantly.
Nice. Trolling. Next level trolling. That's country trolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I don't know, man. I hope that soon we'll see the end of ANC. It boggles my mind, Ernst, how there's still some people on this planet, especially on social media, who defend the ANC, and you know the people I'm talking about because they were,
The usual
yeah,
suspects.
the usual suspects. Um, it's amazing how they just defend the ANC. Yeah, but they're trying, or yeah, but you can't say that because they're trying, or
Cyril's got a plan. Just give
Cyril's
him
got a
time. Cyril
plan.
just
Gives
needs more
oh
time.
my word, and those people that say that are the first people that are actually going to be on one of the first flights out of South Africa when shit hits the
Yeah.
fan. Like
I actually
that's the
made
sad
that
part.
tweet. I actually made that tweet a while back that I see a very, very clear correlation between those advocating, firstly, the radical policies of NHI and EWC, and also those that say just give the ANC another chance. Cyril's gonna save the day. There's a correlation between those people and those that have the ability and the funds and the resources to immigrate like that.
Absolutely.
Very, very strong correlation. A lot of box wine sippers there in the suburbs of the rich suburbs of South Africa. I'll say no more.
The Constantia, Constantia Tani. All right, so before I forget, actually, I've got an episode coming up this week on Sunday. I've just scheduled it. I do a show called Social Media Circus, where I basically
Mhm.
commentate on posts, Twitter posts, Facebook posts, memes, videos, TikTok videos, you name it. And some of this stuff is sent in by fans, and some of the stuff I, screenshot and I keep for the show. And your tweet is featured in it, Ernst. So I'm gonna send
Mm.
you. Yeah, I'll send you the link once we're done here, and you can maybe watch it on Sunday. But yeah, one of your tweets got featured. I can't remember the tweet now, but I just remembered. Hey, I got one of your
Mm.
tweets in the upcoming show. So for
Yeah,
those of you
well,
watching,
you're giving me some more. You're giving me some more fame, and just as my fame from getting that footage of the meteorite over Pretoria was fading.
yeah, I don't think that's fading. I mean, what was that a meteorite? Was that confirmed?
No, the major consensus is that it was space junk that was entering the atmosphere. But I was just sitting outside having a smoke, and I see this weird thing going across the sky that I've never seen. It looks like, at first I thought it was like a missile, and
It
I
looked like a
just
missile.
grabbed my phone. I'm like, I'm gonna do some citizen journalism right now. And I start filming it, and posted on social media just to like share with people what I saw. And then I was one of the first people that posted like clear video. So it went semi-viral in a South African sense. All the media houses contacted me. Can they use my video? I'm like, yeah, sure, dude. I don't really care. You can use it. As long as you say it's from a based character. And in the end, uh, almost every news story on it used that video of mine as a thumbnail, and I was credited as Pretoria man and local man.
Yes.
You could just call me Mr. Local from now on.
Local is lekker. No, well done. And sure happenstance, man. I always get envious of people who film stuff like that because I'm like, why not me? I want my little UFO conspiracy.
I want to be Mr. Local. I want to be
Yeah.
local man.
But anyway, well done. It did go viral. I mean, at the beginning, I wasn't sure it was you, and then
Hmm.
I noticed like, oh no, that is his voice. And okay, so it was garbage. It looks it for those of you who haven't watched it. I'll be surprised if you haven't. But if you haven't, go check out Conscious Caracal on Twitter, and you'll find it in his feed, or you can just Google. I think local man. Local South African man, UFO. To be one of the
Yeah.
recent articles, and you'll see the video there. Very interesting, and yeah, man. If only it was like some weird, like like Transformers landing or something.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's like new technology that the Guptas are using now to come visit South Africa rather than just landing in Waterkloof Air Force
Oh
Base.
man,
They're now using like Chinese
why do you have to use Guptas? That's
orbital tech.
disappointing. No, we need like Transformers or something.
Mm,
Anyway, uh, yeah. So one of the things we also wanted to talk about on the show is what Afriform is up to in the next few months, years. I don't know. Tell me, Ernst, what is Afriform up to now and in the future?
mm, mm. So currently we're focusing on our emergency responses and pretty much making sure that all our communities that where we are ready to be able to respond to a crisis. I mean, the unrest was a major wake up call, but at the same time, I can't really. That implies that we weren't ready, but we were absolutely ready. Afrifor, what was that meme? My mind's scattershot now. Of the the Indian guy with the shotgun is like he's born ready.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, we have over 160 neighborhood watches across the country, and we are putting additional resources into them now to make sure that they have the equipment that they need, that they have the leadership and the organization that they need to keep their communities safe and to state proof their communities. I mean, just now, I think last week it was we reported that our Benoni neighborhood watch. Let me just get the stats here. Yeah, so the AfriForum Benoni neighborhood watch covered a total of 7,800 kilometers during patrols in August, and that covered 677 man hours. So, and that
Wow.
neighborhood watch is doing very well in terms of members. And yeah, for all the listeners, if you're not part of your local AfriForum neighborhood watch yet, you need to go check it out. See if there's one near you and sign up. You can go check on our website, or you can just Google AfriForum neighborhood watch, and you'll find the way to get involved. But that's what we're focusing mainly on now. There's no, unfortunately, now, I can't give you now some inside scoop on some big Malema stuff going on or any like dramatic stuff. It's more of now behind the scenes. We're focusing on getting communities ready and making sure that communities are state proof. But there are some big Malema court cases coming up. I don't know exactly when the date is, but the next big one I think is that firearm case where he
Hmm.
shot that. I think it's a I can't remember exactly what type of
It was
firearm it
a
was, but it was definitely a
semi-automatic, I think.
semi-automatic. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he shot it in the air at some type of rally in 2018. And that court case, we're taking him to court for that, and that's going to happen later this year if everything goes according to plan. So just keep an eye on AfriForum for that. And then there's also we're still waiting for a verdict on our BLF hate speech case, where we took the BLF to court for that clip of Andile where he says we're going to shoot their cats and we're going to shoot their
Oh
wives
yeah.
and we're going to kill them all. We're going to kill 5 white people for every black person killed, something like that, something atrocious. And we took him to court over that. Court proceedings are done. We're just waiting for the decision by the judge. So we're also going to keep people posted on that. So just keep an
Fantastic.
eye on AfriForum for all that. And yeah, there's also, like I said, unfortunately, most of the stuff we're focusing on now are behind the scenes stuff, mostly on the ground with our community watches, our farm patrols, and also making sure that all our branches in every town are equipped with what they need in a crisis situation.
Awesome. That sounds exciting. I just want to remind people that are watching, please go to the link in the description. Go check out Conscious Caracal's YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll be surprised if you haven't. And yeah, he's got a lot of updates with current affairs in South Africa. Also talks to interesting people on his channel and also gives Afriforum updates all the time. So please go subscribe, check him out. Also follow him on Twitter. He's your tweets are good, Ernst. I don't know if anyone's ever told you, but your tweets are like on point, like most of the time. And I don't mean to say that like other times they're not. I'm just saying like you've got really good tweets. A lot of the like people should. What I'm trying to say is follow Conscious Caracal on Twitter. He's got great tweets. Okay, I'm not just making that up. I promise you. You'll see on this Sunday.
I appreciate the endorsement, Joe. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that video or that episode as well. Where one of them is allegedly going to feature.
Yeah. All right. So cool. So not much other than that in terms of Afriform. I mean, you guys do great work already. I got to meet Ernest Roots recently, which was exciting. Very down to earth man. Like wow.
He's just a skateboarder and he plays
His
his metal guitar.
guitar and it's like such a like I don't know, man. Like when you see him on news, like he's like obviously because it's news, he represents Afriform. You got to be prim proper. Same with you. You're on the news. You got to be prim and proper. But even meeting you, I mean, we met. I think for the first time 2 weeks ago, and we went to the Sawney Pass, and you're funny, man. You're cracking jokes in the car all the time. What's that? I'm not trans, I'm Transvaal. That was funny. Guys, don't freak out. It's a long story. It's an inside joke. But yeah, like it has nothing to do with transsexuals, by the way.
Maybe in a previous life, I was a comedian, or in an alternate universe.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And you taught me some interesting history about where we were traveling through. I mean, I was very impressed with the amount of history that you know. And yeah, I think I should have you back on the show and we can talk about the Great Trek and stuff like that because apparently there were some things you told me even on the car ride that weren't I didn't know was true. Like for example, that it wasn't just one big trek; it was a number of treks. But yeah, I'll have you back on the show to talk about that. And
Yeah, absolutely do that. Yeah, and I'm also looking forward to your clips of our trip finally being uploaded. I think you got some excellent footage as well. And I see
yes,
Roman's vlog episode also did well. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. And I hear there's also another video that might also come out regarding that trip in the same time period.
oh yeah, no, fantastic. I was wondering if you were going to release something.
No, not from my side, from Herman, our friend's side.
Oh
I think he's
yes,
also going to have a video up.
yes. He's also gonna have a video up soon about that. He recorded everything, like everything. His camera was constantly in his hand. But yeah,
I just saw here in the chat, someone says, Adams, I'm so sorry you had to bunk with Morning Shot.
true story. True story. I think that was a fun trip. It was definitely a fun trip. We learned a lot about each other. We had great chats. We had nice bras. It was freaking cold, but it was cool to see
It
some
was as
snow.
cold as an ANC card is hot.
No, I think it's colder there, dude. I think it's way colder. We're talking sub-zero temperatures. Anyway, so Ernst, we still got a bit of time. I saved some questions from the
Yeah,
audience.
let's shoot.
First one I want to address very quickly. Well, this one isn't really a question, but I didn't want to forget. Herman Ruas, who we just spoke about, says, see you in 2 weeks. I'm not sure what he means by that, but he gave a 35 Rand super chat. So thank you so much, Herman Ruas, for giving a super chat. It is greatly appreciated. And thanks for watching, buddy. And then we have Behave Z307. Interesting name. Says, my understanding, if IEC ANC wins in Concord, it will have to go to Parliament to vote on. But Parliament cannot convene under Disaster Management Act. So how will that work? Is that true?
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to tell you the honest truth here, and I'm not an expert in regards to this, so I'm not going to be able to speculate here. That sounds about right. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that technical knowledge to be able to confirm that.
All right, no worries. I understand that. And then Side Learner Opinions had a question as well. We shall only get rid of the ANC's SACP when the mainstream media turns on them. Who owns the mainstream media, though?
I like that phrasing, ANC/SACP. Yeah. That's something that a lot of people don't realize, specifically people from our international listeners, is that the ANC forms part of the tripartite alliance. They form part of which pretty much is the ANC, COSATU, which is all the labor unions, and the South African Communist Party. If you Google Cyril Ramaphosa, South African Communist Party, you get some very nice wallpapers for your PC if you want them, of Cyril Ramaphosa sitting in front of like a wall of just hammer and sickles. I mean, they probably tried to set some type of record for the amount of hammer and sickles in the background of a world leader. I think they're pretty close, and I do think they've made that record, but it's something to behold. So if anyone tells you, no, the ANC don't have any communist leanings or don't have any fond ideas when it comes to communism, just Google Cyril Ramaphosa, SACP, and you're going to get some very nice pictures there that are not photoshopped at all.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to, with the ANC, you don't even need Photoshop. You just put reality on the screen and it's already like meme quality.
Dude, remember, I said this before and I'll say it again. At the beginning of this year, at the ANC birthday party, Cyril Ramaphosa came out and thanked the South African Communist Party for being an integral part of their liberation movement. I mean,
yeah.
Hello. Anyway, so Deborah has a question for you. Were you the guy who made them stop at all the filling stations?
My Afrikaner genes did compel me to do that, but no, it wasn't me. It was all Herman.
Yes, that was fun. But hey, let's mention that one filling station that we stopped at.
Oh yeah, the one that I dubbed the anti-petrol station.
Yes.
Okay, so let me tell you a story. Have you guys ever been to an anti-petrol station? Well, me and Joe have. So we stopped at this petrol station that is owned by an ANC cadre. Now, we got an indication of who it might be, but I'm not going to make any claims that I'm not 100% sure about. But it's a high-profile ANC cadre. And he owns this petrol station. But he's not paying the fees to, I think it's Shell, which means that the petrol station is dry. There's no petrol there. You stop there and they can't give you any petrol. The shops there are also empty. I think, Joe, you got a nice picture of all the empty shelves there as well. So just imagine you're on this long road, your petrol light's been on for like an hour, you're really starting to sweat now, and you see this petrol station in the distance. You're like, we're saved. Don't worry, guys, crisis averted. You pull in there, you're gonna be the hero. You look at your family, you're like, Dad's got this. You look over to the petrol attendant, and he's like, oh no, sorry, no petrol, man. And it's just like a mirage. You've just been crawling through the desert, you're dying of thirst, and you see this mirage of like a oasis, and you get there and there's nothing. This is pretty much what that petrol station embodies. It's an anti-petrol station. There's nothing there. It's just a mirage. And a lot of people, I think, have had their trips ruined where they've been in desperate need of a fill up and their car is thirsty, and they rock up there, and then they just get this devastating news that there's a petrol station here, we just don't sell the product that we're named after.
It's like KFC not having chicken.
Can I interest you in a can of Coke and maybe a empty bun?
They didn't even have Coke. You had to go to like I don't know if that section where they had all the restaurants was like privately owned. It must have been, because there was like, I think a Steers or a Hungry Lion and a little cafe shop that was still operational where we got some stuff from. But the main Shell shop was bone dry. And it looks like they're moving. It looks like, they're like, it was a last moment sale. Everything's been wiped out, But no, I don't even know what the staff were doing, dude. Like they had petrol attendants, but there's no petrol. There's nothing.
Sideliner Opinions makes a very good point. He calls it the cargo cult petrol station. Absolutely. I also made the remark there when we stopped there. When you're looking at these types of scenarios with a petrol station that's just empty, it's like you're living in a post-nuclear blast dystopia, but the nuclear bomb that went off is just the ANC government.
No, absolutely. Oh man, that was a weird experience. But anyway, a fond memory nonetheless, because we had some fun with it. And then another question here from Sideliner Opinions, asking, President Ramaphosa promised we shall not have mandated vaccines. Will he keep this promise? Well, I'll try and answer that one as well, and then Ernst, you can give
Go
your
for it.
opinion. I okay. One, when has Cyril ever not lied or shown that he's trustworthy? Number two,
This is the same guy that said there are no murdering of white farmers in South Africa.
I mean, there you go. And number two, CRA, I believe, are doing a story on that. So if you don't know who CRA is, it's Central for Risk Analysis. They're doing a story on that. It's going to be released soon. So please keep your eye on that, where they will talk with Mark Oppenheimer to discuss whether it is vaccine mandates can be mandated vaccines can be allowed. And the reason why I know this is because I was chatting to Mark Oppenheimer, asking him to come onto my show to talk about it, but he said he was doing something with CRA about it. So check out CRA for that upcoming thing. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. Ernst, what do you think?
Well, I was very surprised when the president said that, because I thought, well, this is going to be a clip I'm definitely going to save.
I think everybody saved it. I
Yeah,
saved it.
I think you should just, if it ever happens that vaccines get mandated, you should just upload like an hour-long version of that clip, just replaying Cyril Ramaphosa saying there will be no forced vaccinations for 1 hour. Can you survive? Um, but yeah, no, you never know with the ANC. I mean, if Cyril hadn't said that, I would have been full on saying, yeah, they're going to do it. They're just going to mandate it. They want to look like we're in control. We know what's going on. We're the big strong government. But at the same time, that clip is going to be used against Cyril. I mean, it's no small thing that he said that on a national broadcast. So if that ever happens, there's going to be a lot of court cases, and you can be guaranteed that AfriForum will also be part of those court cases, because our main stance when it comes to this is that people need to have the freedom of choice. Your employer is not allowed to force you to do it. You can take them to court, and at the same time, there's also there's no way that the government can mandate you to have a vaccine. If it tries to do that, then AfriForum will definitely be part of the court battle to stop it, and we're going to have a very solid case in that regard. Because
Fantastic.
the South African Constitution gives you the right to bodily integrity, which means, just as, for example, you cannot be forced to have an abortion, or you cannot be forced to use like a experimental medicine. At the same time, you can also not be forced to take the jab. So no, there's a very strong case, and AfriForum will absolutely be part of that challenge if that situation ever arises.
Fantastic. We'll definitely be following that story closely as well if it ever comes to that. Peter Sawanga also asking, any thoughts on the proposed 2,700 Rand, sorry, 2,000, now I sound like Zuma, 2,760 Rand tax hike? Um,
Well, that's just another indication of a party that's wallet has run empty. They're going to try some desperate stuff in the years to come to get those funds back. Because I mean, if the gravy train stops, then the ANC is in some serious trouble. Not because they won't be able to pay their employees, but because you're going to have some angry carders that want their slice of the pie, and this tap has just been turned off. So they're going to have internal revolts if they don't at least to some degree get some money in to fix some of these financial problems and fiscal problems that they have. And this is just another example of them trying to absolutely, in a almost in a clownish sense, trying to get back some of that money. So I think that's also a fight that AfriForum is already part of in opposing that type of tax hike, and we will also be fighting that in the future. But that's also a developing story.
Yeah, I think this tax hike is, like you said, another attempt of trying to grease the pockets of these cadres and these politically elite. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's trying to fund. Well, their excuse is the basic income grant or something like that, or NHI. One of those outlandish policies that they want to introduce, or at the end of the day, guys, when has the ANC done anything and it's worked. We have already, there's nothing but evidence surrounding us of SOE after SOE crumbling, barely able to stay alive.
Mm.
ESCOM, for one. I mean, the other day we got a
Yeah.
warning that there might be load shedding.
Yeah.
Pretoria gets load shedding without even having a schedule.
My favorite story was the Medupi story of this power station that's
Oh my
been
word.
in construction for 14 years, 2 million% over budget. And within 7 days, there's a catastrophic explosion that cripples the entire facility. And then also, I mean, if you ask the ANC to boil water for you, they'd probably burn it. But then there's also the question of just lies. So maybe just a final thought there. Um, I always tell people when they ask me, so do you trust the ANC with this? Specifically, naive people that don't know my stance of my FUTSEC ANC stance. I'll tell them, well, what do you think the ANC does or ANC cadres do when they get tired? They lie in bed.
Nice. Um, yeah, I think, dude, again, I'm bewildered with the amount of people that still trust the ANC or think that the ANC can organize a piss up in a brewery, as they say.
Mm.
Which, I mean, if you watch Parliament, it kind of is that. But that's I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks the ANC wants people to believe that they're idiots. And I think Parliament, when it's aired, that's the best time they perform, if I can put it that way, because
Mm.
they act stupid. They act like outlandish.
Mm.
They the EFF
Mm.
also kind of flares up things, and the DA kind of
Yeah.
plays along and also falls for it and stuff like that. And what happens? The public thinks that the parliament or the government is just incapable of anything, and people just move on with their
Mm.
lives, not
But
paying
see, yeah,
attention to
that
what's happening.
yeah, and that gets back to what I said earlier. There's absolutely some clowns in the ministry. There's definitely some that are definitely not all there. The lights are on, but nobody's home. But there's also some of them, specifically in the top brass, that have a lot of experience. They are shrewd politicians, and the biggest mistake you can make is to underestimate them.
Oh yeah.
I think that, and like you said, you make a good point, Joe. It plays into their hands. They'd rather have people underestimate them than overestimate them and think that, oh, they don't worry. They say they're going to do a EWC and expropriate land, but they're not smart enough to do it. They're going to mess it up. Don't look at it that way. You need to go on the premise that they're going to execute it like they want to and how they plan to. Even if that sounds strange to you, rather go on that premise than thinking, ah, don't worry about it. They're gonna bungle up and bottle it anyway.
Mm.
And that's the big mistake that a lot of South Africans make. So rather overestimate your opponent than underestimate him. And I think when it comes to the ANC, your best policy, think that you need to go on the premise that they're going to do what they say they're going to do.
Mm.
But at the same time, due to they do have their incompetence and they do have their mismanagement and their corruption, which
Yeah.
means it's much nicer living under the ANC during this COVID pandemic than living in Australia, where I'd rather live under a incompetent tyrannical government than a competent one. And Australians are figuring that out very quickly.
Yep, that's very true. That's very true. I don't know, man. The whole world seems a bit messed up, if you ask me. You just
Mm,
gotta make the best of what you have and where you are at the moment. Yeah. There was another question I had in mind that I wanted to ask you,
mm,
and now it's slipped my mind, unfortunately.
mhm.
Um, yeah, no, it's completely gone, and nobody. Everybody's in the comments, which I greatly appreciate, guys. If you have any questions, please send them through. But I'm only going to take one more question as we are running out of time, and I don't want to keep Ernst
Mm.
for too long. But yeah, by the way, I just saw someone comment now: clowns, Muppets, and puppets, and that just reminded me of the awesome thing. Was it you or was it Ernest Roots? I don't know who started it on Twitter, but when EFF were going to Phoenix, and then everyone just started posting clown pictures.
That was a great little bit of mimetic warfare. Yeah, it was actually just it was just me. I just wanted to post the clown picture with that hashtag, And then I posted it, and then a lot of people started doing it as well. It's like, oh, this could work. And then I showed it to Ernst Roots, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to do that as well. So he starts doing it, and then I showed it to Ronaldo, and he's like, oh, that's pretty funny. I'm going to do that as well. And then a lot of people, it
it,
just took off.
it
It wasn't
was
like some grand plot. It wasn't something that was planned weeks in advance. It was just funny. It was just a
it,
joke, guys. Try and I saw a lot of people theorizing like, oh, these people are paid, and
nah.
it's a what my favorite tweet was this one person that said, these are all paid actors. Don't get discouraged and don't lose hope, fighters. I'm like, it's clown pictures, dude. Are you being discouraged and fighting a morale drain because people are laughing at you and posting clown pictures? Yeah, it was very funny, and it was nice that I was the spark that set it off. But like I said, it wasn't some coordinated campaign. It was just people having fun and doing some mimetic warfare, and that's what it's all about. People, not everything is always some serious plot. Sometimes it's just people fighting gat, people making a joke, because the EFF is a joke and they are clowns. Life imitates memes.
Absolutely, and I think this will be a good thing to end off on because it's fun. And I mean, if you do it even now, Ernst, you will just see clown picture after clown picture. Just hashtag EFF in Phoenix, and you just get
Mm.
all these clown pictures just start popping up. Okay, there's some other stuff now, but at the beginning, let me see here.
Yeah, there was at the peak of the hashtag trending. I think the top 15 images were just when you search that hashtag were just
See,
clown pictures.
clown shoes, clowns. There's Ronaldo's one with just clowns.
Yeah,
And yeah, when it was at its
yeah,
peak,
no, no.
it was flooded, absolutely brilliant, amazing trolling once again. All right, Ernst, it was a pleasure having you on. It is the hour mark.
Mm.
So once again, tell people where they can find you, easiest way to find you, and tell them a bit about your channel.
Mm. Well, Joe, firstly, thank you very much for having me on. I can't believe an hour already flew by. It was really a nice chat. I enjoyed it so much. And yeah, you say I'm a funny guy. You're also a very funny guy when it comes to
Thanks.
just these types of informal conversation. But you're a comedian, man. I mean, that's part of the part and parcel. But anyway, dude, thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for the nice chat. I really enjoyed it, and also the people in the chat. You guys are also really funny, and also very clever. I mean, I always tell my chat on my channel, their inputs into my live streams are so valuable because there's always very good questions, there's always very good comments, and also a lot of funny comments. But don't underestimate that your audience also adds a lot to the content, and I always try and put as many of them on the channel and on the have them take part because they also enrich the channel and create content. And you also have a very nice following here. It seems I've been following the chat throughout the entire conversation. It's really a pleasure. When I stream, I always have to make sure that I don't get too distracted by the chat. It's almost more fun to look at the chat than to uh, do the stream. But yeah, you know all about that, of course. So yeah, thank you, Joe. And yeah, if you don't know who I am and you don't know about my channel, there's a link in the description to my channel called Conscious Caracal. I'm also on Twitter. You can also search Conscious Caracal, or you can search my username Con Caracal. So that's CONCARACAL. I always, when maybe just a final comment there. When people ask me, did you have a plan with like your YouTube channel and your Twitter profile and everything? I'm like, if I had a plan with like this is going to be this brand and I'm going to create this profile and it's going to blow up, I would have chosen a username that's easier to spell.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so thanks, Ernst, once again, and thank you for the kind words, guys. Go follow Ernst; he's an awesome guy, and doing great work with Everyform as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back tomorrow evening with a solo stream, so there won't be any guests, but I'll be chatting with you guys. You can get to ask me any question. We'll have a nice conversation for an hour at 9 p.m. It's a solo stream. I'll be back tomorrow evening. If I don't see you then, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.